What's poppin', everybody? It's your favorite doc tender, ThatGirlHenny, and I am here to give you your hot shot of court docs. And today's court doc, it is scandalous, and it's not even really a court doc. It's more like an expose, I guess. And this is my first time doing something like this, okay? But but I'm gonna put that old Henny spin on it and give y'all a little bit of what y'all been looking for, okay? Now, as y'all know, there's been a lot of scandal and a lot of kerfuffle going on, and people are tussling because they are mad. And specifically, MAGA supporters are literally livid right now with Donald Trump. Why, you ask? Because Donald Trump on the campaign trail promised everybody that he would have no problems with releasing the Epstein files should he be reelected back into office. And there was only a little portion, a first portion of information that was dropped off to the public. And this stuff included flight logs. And we also have a DOG report that was done back in 2023 that gives us a timeline that speaks about the deletion of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, if you remember, Donald Trump was a big conspiracy theorist when it came down to Epstein and all the files that were going on. But it wasn't just him, it was his camp too. We're talking about misleading statements and covering up lies and possibly trying to pull a Mandela effect on us. Baby, get your Kenny glasses, your red styrofoam cups, your shot glasses, or whatever it is that you use, because we are about to pour up on the Epstein Mandela effect.
That girl Henny, y'all gotta go to her channel.
The girl Henny, do you know who she is?
She a blogger or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, where this lady come from?
Girl been on your ass.
She on your life, G.
Shout out to Henny over there.
All right, everybody. So if you remember just a couple of days ago, everybody, well, not even a couple of days ago, I will say yesterday, everyone was in a frenzy. I don't know any other word to use for it because Caroline, how do you say her name? Levette. She came out and she said, there is no client list. And that Epstein's deletion was in fact a self-deletion, and there was no cover-up or conspiracy. Dun, dun, dun! Mind you, this is something that Donald Trump and his campaign has been saying, that it was a conspiracy, you guys. If you missed it, because I know a lot of people don't watch the news, baby, that's not the video that we're going to show. We're going to show this one instead. Let me get it up there. Let me start you here, and then let's rewind. Come down, selector, so that y'all can hear everything.
The FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News. Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did.
Putting bad people behind bars, you say? Isn't the president, isn't he a felon? I'm just asking because I'm ignorant to politics, so it seems like, are you really committed to locking up bad guys? I'm just saying. Now, if you don't know what it is that she's referring to, I'm going to turn to Huffington Post. Okay, Yahoo posted a collage that they did, and I'm going to play for you the portion of video that they were talking about in that conference.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. The FBI handed over.
Before we get into what the FBI handed over, it's sitting on my desk right now to review. The rest of the statement was along with the files of MLK and JFK. He specifically asked about the client list, and that's what she said. It's sitting on my desk right now to review along with the JFK and MLK files. She didn't say the Epstein file is sitting on my desk right now to be reviewed. She answered a specific question about a specific piece of information. But now let's listen to what she had to say about what the FBI handed over to her.
A couple hundred pages of documents. You're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. There were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff?
Now, I do have the partial list that was released. And I'm going to show it to you. But let's let her finish.
And that's what the FBI had turned over to us.
It is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
We have flight logs, we have names and information that will come out. That's what we keep hearing. That's what we kept hearing. But that's not what they were showing us now, were they? Now, they go on to say Trump said before the election that he'd have no problem releasing the Epstein client list.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Now, on my live earlier, I asked everyone there if they remembered when Donald Trump got in trouble for having files in his Mar-a-Lago home. Classified files, I might add. Do y'all remember that? If y'all don't, let me go ahead and let me pull that article for y'all real quickly. Now, before I go all conspiracy theorist on you, I must say that the rumors, because there is nothing that has indicated that Trump has actually had any Epstein files at his house. Instead, what he had at Mar-a-Lago's was nuclear capabilities, which included information on the United States and foreign nations' nuclear programs, which the classified level of these documents were top secret, special access programs only, okay? Then there was military attack plans with documents detailing a potential military strike on Iran, including what Trump called secret plans created by the Pentagon, all right? And he was caught on tape at Bedminster discussing one of these documents while acknowledging he hadn't declassified it. He also had documentation regarding foreign nations' defense capabilities, including intelligence about foreign military strengths, weaknesses, and weapon systems, including allies and adversaries, signals, intelligence, and human intelligence data. Some documents were reportedly marked as HCS, and which is Human Control System, and SI, which is Special Intelligence. All right? And they refer to human sources informant human sources in foreign nations. These are people who are probably secret double agents and spies and things of that nature. He also had CIA and NSA intelligence reports, and these documents were found in his ballroom, his bathroom, the storage room, and his personal office. And yes, I did say the bathroom. But I'm now going to put on my tinfoil kufi, because who is to say that Donald Trump didn't take and destroy information about him? I mean, How would they know? They wouldn't know. But the fact that he had classified documentation in his Mar-a-Lago's home, and now whether it be fact or rumor, Elon Musk did say that Donald Trump, well, that he was on the flight plans. Now, would it be so hard for us to believe that Donald was on that list? Well, how about we just go and we pull said list, shall we? Because you should already know if I'm asking these questions, then obviously your girl has some type of something. And baby, hold on to your edges and the brims of your caps, because that is what I'm about to put on the screen right now. Okay. This is the Epstein list that was provided to us. That is the flight log, if I am not mistaken, but it is a long list of people who are celebrities and politicians that were put on this list. I'm not even going to bother to put a watermark up. I don't even care at this point. But what I want you to look at is over here in this specific portion on flight logs in address book. Okay? This is what they're looking at. And if they are on the flight logs, that means that they were flying over. And if they're in the address book, I would be inclined to believe that these people were the people that were actually in communication with him. Okay. Now, as you guys can see, people were saying that Beyonce was there, but she's not mentioned in documents. She's not on any flight logs, and she's not in the address book, according to this documentation. Okay. And when we go through the list, there is no Donald J. Trump on this specific list. However, I do recall seeing something, but this is what was released to us. All right. This is what was released to us. And what are we going to do with this? Does this list not exist? Why are all of these people here? Where did this come from, you guys? If the list does not exist, where did this document come from? Did somebody actually sit down and just come up with a list of names and put it all together? Or was this really portions of the list that were edited and given to us? Because I would like to believe that if there were big, elaborate parties and if the only way that you could get to Epstein Island was to be chartered in through his own 747, or was it a 757? He had his own commercial like airline, his own plane that flew people in to his island. Now, they're telling us that it doesn't exist. And we heard what Caroline had to say. But what I find also suspicious is the fact that after it was said that, hey, there's no list, and that, hey, she was talking about the JFK files, and she wasn't actually talking about what you're thinking she was talking about. She was talking about having a complete file. All of a sudden, Pammy here comes out with this statement.
In February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well.
But that's not what you said, Pammy.
That's what I meant by that.
But that's not what you said. You were asked a direct question. You gave a direct answer. You did not say the Epstein files. You said that the list was on your desk, and we're not going to let you forget that.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
And we don't want to hear it.
Never going to be released, never going to see the.
We didn't ask for it.
Him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter.
Now, she says there was a minute that was off the counter. That is correct. But I want you guys to pay attention to what she says next.
And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing.
So she said that the system is from 1999, right? Oh, Pammy girl, why did you do this to yourself? Because now I have to do it to you. And I really don't want to do it to you, but I'm going to have to. Because she said 1999, folks. That's what she said. 1999. All right. Since that's what she's going with, let me draw y'all attention to this document right here. This document, let me get my watermark, y'all. Let me get my watermark up, child. Bloop. We're going to put that watermark right there. This document, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me scroll you up to the top of this so you can see where I'm about to get this information from. This is from the Department of Justice, the DOJ. This is also from the Office of the Inspector Generals. And what is this? An investigation and review of the Federal Bureau of Prisons custody care and supervision of Jeffrey Epstein at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. And the investigation was done in June of 2023. Now, before I get into any of that, I'm quite sure some of you guys have not seen this video, and you probably would like to see the video so that you can see what the minute is that they are talking about when they say that there is a minute. And I'm quite sure everyone has showed this video, but there are some people that have not seen said video that would like to see said video. And so I'm going to roll that beautiful bean footage for all of you. Give me a second because I have to pull it up and put it up here. I know. Henny, why you going there? Because I have to show you something. Just follow me, okay? Now, she said 1999 is where the cameras, they're from 1999. But I would like to draw your attention to a timeline of events that happened before Jeffrey Epstein arrived at the MCC. And it's dated September 21st through the 24th of 2018. The BOP awards contracts to two companies, Company 1 and 2, to upgrade the security camera system at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, MCC New York. At the time, images from the MCC New York's analog video cameras are recorded to a digital video recorder, a DVR system, which is divided into two DVR systems. Cameras assigned to DVR1 system record only to the DVR1 hard drives, and cameras assigned to DVR2 systems record only to DVR2 hard drives. What does that mean? That means that there were two companies that were assigned in 2018 to upgrade the camera systems. Unlike what Pam Bondi told us, that the camera systems were from 1999. Now, doesn't that contradict what she just told us? Now let's go to March 17th of 2019. In connection with MCC New York's upgrade of its camera system, security camera system, the BOP's Northeast Region Office begins arranging for technicians from other BOP institutions to perform temporary duty, TDY, assignments to MCC New York to perform necessary mechanical, electrical, and plumbing and wiring. However, during the course of the TDY rotations, work is not consistently conducted on the camera upgrade because TDY personnel are sometimes used to cover shortages at MCC New York, okay? According to court records, a federal grand jury of the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of New York returns an indictment charging Epstein with SCX trafficking and conspiracy to commit SCX trafficking. So he gets there in July of 2019, but they have been working on these cameras since 2018, okay? So what we learned is September 21st through the 24th of 2018, they contracted 2 companies to come in and take their camera systems and upgrade them, okay? They said that in March, on March 17th of 2019, that there were people that were there to perform temporary duty and that they were there to perform duties such as mechanical duties, electrical duties, plumbing, and wiring. And it said that during the course of these rotations, the work is not consistently conducted on the camera upgrade. So the cameras have been upgraded as of September of what? September 21st through the 24th of 2018. The cameras were upgraded. So how are they from 1999, as she has said? Things that make you go, But we're going to get into this whole document in a whole other video. I'm doing this for the podcast. I will be reading through the whole thing. But yes, just know that that is a lie. The lie detector test determined Pam Bondi, that was a lie. So now let's talk about this video, okay? Let me get this off the screen and let me get the video up on the screen for you guys so that y'all can see what everybody is talking about, okay? This is the video. This is the infamous video that everyone has been talking about, where this allegedly shows the tier where Epstein was at. Now, mind you, neither one of these doors that the camera is focused on are Epstein's cell. Neither one of these. And I believe that the cell that he's in, the unit that he's in, may be over here. But now we want to talk about the blip, right? The blip that everyone is speaking on, where we miss about a whole minute of the camera time. So now y'all pay close attention, okay? Because we are at 11:49:28, according to the bottom of the screen. And we're going to be watching for about 10 minutes. As you can see, there is minimal to no movement around in this cell block, or from this camera angle, you can't really see very much. So how was this video supposed to be anything that would satisfy the public is beyond me, because at the end of the day, let's skip ahead just a little bit. All right, 44. 46. All right, let's watch, because there's going to be a whole jump that happens. All right, we're at 11:47, and at about 11:57, and at about 11:58 in some seconds, it's gonna jump. And that's the jump that she's gonna be referencing when she speaks in that news conference. Now, there are security officers or COs back in the back, people walking. That's why I said minimal to no movement going on in this video at this moment. Get ready, because it's going to jump right about now. See, it jumped. Right there is where the jump happened. See there? Let's go back again. Now, when this camera jumps, the screen also gets wider. Did y'all notice that? Hold on. You see that? The camera got wider. But there's also something that I want you guys to pay attention to. This little white box right here also disappears right after this camera jumps. Now, what is that little white box up in the corner? We don't know. And I know you're probably going to be like, okay, well, Henny, it's a little white box. It's probably nothing. And you're probably just exaggerating. But I'm actually going to show y'all something. This camera jumps in a few moments. Let me see if I could kind of speed it up a little bit. The camera jumps and the white box disappears. Hold on. I hate that I can't just like put in a time of when I want it to go to. Now watch. Watch as the camera jumps. The white box disappears at midnight. Ready? And boom. Like magic, it disappears. However, if we go back a little bit, the camera, the little white box is not there. It's not there. At 11:19 p.m., that box is not there in the camera. When does the box appear? Let's see. Boom. It appears at 11:23:10, which is 11 p.m. 11:23 p.m. and 10 seconds is when that box appears, and it does not disappear until the glitch happens at midnight. So what is that at the top of the screen? Is that some type of editing system? Are they using something to layer these videos together to make them one video? Because even when we scroll, because they're saying that Jeffrey Epstein passed away at 6:30 is when he was found in his cell and he was unalived, right? Well, let's go to the 6:30 mark, okay, shall we? Let's go and see what's happening at 6:30. Do we see anything that's going on that would even alert us? We're at 6:30 now. Do we see any movement? Matter of fact, let me go a little bit before 6:30 and let's look and see if there's any movement. We're going to go back to 6:25 a.m. and let's see. You see that there's a guard walking across. There doesn't seem to be any emergency that is happening. Nobody is moving with any urgency. This is 5 minutes before 6:30. All right. Mind you, if we were to watch this whole video, there are people that have gone up and down those stairs and in and out of door 46 throughout the night. It hasn't been a lot of people, but there have been people going in and out of 46 all night long. There has been some type of movement, even if it was minimal movement. There has been movement that has happened on this floor. Now, I don't know if this video is looping because that is something that I was looking at because the lady has already gone over there. But now there's another guard coming out. Look, there's somebody walking around. They're going down the hallway. or wherever it is they're going. We can't see them on the camera and see what they are doing. Now we are at 6:27 a.m. And it just looks like this person just keeps bringing stuff or something to that table, right? So now this might be the food carts that they were talking about that came in. Because there is a whole breakdown into the final hours of Jeffrey Epstein, okay? Now we are still at 6:27 a.m., okay? Now both guards are off the screen. We don't see anything else happening. Let's go ahead a little bit. Now we're at 6:30, 6:31, 6:33. Do you see anything that looks like urgency happening here? Anything? Let me speed it up just a little bit for y'all. Let's speed it up. And let's look. Somebody is walking over into the other side of the unit. We can't see anybody. Now remember, people are walking fast because I have sped it up. We're at 6:37. It doesn't seem like there are any alarms going off. There aren't people rushing out, people rushing around. And again, this person is walking fast only because I have sped up the video. So if you look at the time down below, you'll see the seconds are flying by, but they're just walking around. The video is almost at its end. Now, I'm just going to say this, in my opinion, if there were an emergency going on, and even if we couldn't see over to where Epstein was, shouldn't there have at least been some type of video? It stops right there at 6:40 a.m. Okay? That's it. That's all. You don't see anybody rushing anywhere on a gurney. You don't see any of that, which you would expect to be going on when you have an emergency such as someone unaliving themselves happening in your presence, in your midst. So I'm a little suspicious about what we're being given right now because it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, I don't know. I can't say that, what the proper procedure and protocol is, but according to them, an alarm was rung when Jeffrey Epstein's body was discovered. That's what they said. They said an alarm was rung. Matter of fact, let me show you better than I can tell you what was what. Okay, now let's go here. A timeline of what Jeffrey Epstein and his prison guards did in his final hours. Okay, y'all ready? Now, this video is not going to play. Okay, it's unloadable, so we're going to read. All right. The federal indictment against 2 prison guards on duty the night Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, wait, because I have to show you this before we get to that. Y'all ready? This is, I believe it's Mark Horowitz. He's a DOJ who spoke.
Epstein was found hanged in his locked cell within the prison's secure special housing unit. The New York City's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner determined that Epstein died by suicide.
Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz didn't find any foul play into how Jeffrey Epstein died, but did say the Federal Bureau of Prisons made several key failures.
We determined that MCC New York staff failed to ensure Epstein was assigned a cellmate following an incident on July 23rd where Epstein was found with a cloth.
The Inspector General also found that inmates weren't.
Now, this is the shoe. This is the area where Epstein was. But that's not what was shown on camera. And let me go back just a little bit to when Mark Horowitz was talking. This is the Special Housing Unit 9 South. We didn't even see this door. So when we get to this, it's a little confusing. Because what was the purpose of you showing us anything in that video that had nothing to do with what people were looking for?
It's made several key failures.
We determined that MCC New York staff failed to ensure Epstein was assigned a cellmate following an incident on July 23rd where Epstein was found in a cell with a cloth.
The Inspector General also found that inmates weren't frequently checked on and their cells weren't inspected. Epstein spent 36 days at the now shuttered Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. 2 weeks before his death, he was placed on suicide watch for 31 hours after a failed suicide attempt. The workers tasked with guarding Epstein the night he died were working overtime. One of them, not normally assigned to guard prisoners, was working a 5th straight day of overtime. The other was working mandatory overtime.
Had Epstein's cell been searched as required,
look at all of this extra bedding and cloths.
It would have revealed that Epstein had excess prison blankets, linens, and clothing in his cell. MCC New York staff also failed to ensure that the institution's security camera system was fully functional.
So now we read that the camera system had been upgraded in 2018, but that no one had did a check to make sure that it was fully functional at the time when Epstein mysteriously came up unalived by his own hand.
It's pointed to 13 employees with poor performance and recommended charges against 6 workers. Only the 2 workers tasked with guarding Epstein were charged, avoiding jail time in a plea deal after admitting to falsifying logs. The report offered 8 recommendations for the Bureau of Prisons to make changes and ultimately says the victims didn't get what they deserved.
The BOP's failures are troubling, not only because the BOP didn't adequately safeguard an individual in its custody, but also because they led to questions about the circumstances surrounding Epstein's death and effectively deprived Epstein's numerous victims of the opportunity to seek justice.
Now, we can go back to what we were about to read and let's get into it because let's hear the timeline, okay? So, July 6th, Epstein is arrested on federal charges for allegedly running a sex trafficking enterprise between 2002 and 2005 in which he paid underage people to have with him in his Manhattan home and his estate in Palm Beach. He was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. On July 8th, Epstein, 66 years old, pled not guilty to sex trafficking of little people, teacup people, and conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking of teacup people. July 10th, Epstein is assigned to the prison's special housing unit, also known as SHU, due to risk factors for self-deletion and safety concerns related to housing him in general population. In the SHU, inmates are assigned to 6 separate tiers, each of which has 8 cells. On July 18th, a federal judge denied Epstein's bail and rules he must remain in MCC pending his trial. On July 23rd, Prison officers find Epstein on the floor of his cell with a strip of bed sheeting around his thing that holds his head up. He is subsequently transferred out of SHU and placed on self-deletion watch in the hospital wing, where he was observed for 24 hours a day by staff members or a specially trained inmate companion. He remained on self-deletion watch for about 24 hours and was transferred to a psychological observation, also in the hospital wing. On July 30th, Epstein is transferred back to the SHU and required to have an assigned cellmate. He was assigned to the cell closest to the correctional officer's desk in the SHU's common area, which is about 15 feet from the cell. So he was required to have someone there with him. He was not allowed to be in a cell by himself. Not only that, he was also 15 feet from the officers. Interesting, right? Interesting indeed. Let's continue. July 31st, Epstein appeared in Manhattan's federal court and showed no visible signs of injury. His next court appearance was set for October 8th, okay? Now, on August 9th, hundreds of pages of court documents were unsealed in New York federal court that allege new details of sexual abuse claims against Epstein and several associates. On August 9th at 8 a.m., Epstein's cellmate is transferred out of the prison in a routine pre-arranged transfer. No cellmate is assigned. So now he's supposed to have a cellmate and he don't get a new one. August 9th, 4 p.m. Tova Noel, a 31-year-old officer at MCC, began the first of two back-to-back 8-hour shifts in the SHU. Noel had been employed as a correction officer at MCC since about 2006. Noel and an unnamed officer, Officer 1, did not perform the required 4 p.m. institutional count. Internal video shows, according to the indictment, they complete and sign a count slip, falsely saying they did. The count slip is collected and delivered to the control center, where officers are responsible for comparing the count slips to the institution's inmate roster, the indictment says. On August 9th at 5 p.m., based on the falsified count slip, the control center clears the 4 p.m. count. On August 9th at 7:49 p.m., Epstein returns to the SHU from an attorney visit and is escorted to his cell by Noel and another officer. August 9th, by or before 10 p.m., all inmates are locked in their cell for the night. Now, we saw on that other video that there were inmates walking around, not very many, but there was at least one or two. Anyway, August 9th at 10:30, Noel briefly walks up to and walks back from the door to the tier in which Epstein was housed. Internal video shows. This is the last time anyone walks up to the entrance to the area where Epstein was held until around 6:30 a.m. the next day, the indictment says. On August 9th at 10:36, based on the falsified count slip, the control center clears the 10 p.m. count. August 10th at midnight, Michael Thomas, a 41-year-old officer at MCC, begins an 8-hour shift on duty in the SHU. Thomas had been employed as a corrections officer at MCC since about 2007. In 2013, he was assigned to work as a materials handler supervisor, but still regularly worked overtime shifts as a corrections officer. Thomas and Noel, the only two correction officers on duty, do not perform the required 12 a.m. count. Internal video showed they complete and sign a count slip, falsely saying they did. On August 10th at 12:49 a.m., based on the falsified count slip, the control center clears the 12 a.m. count. Boy, I tell you, falsifying documentation, if that's not suspicious all on its own, I don't know what is. Hold on one second, y'all, because I think my mic might be too loud. That's too loud. Okay. Now, I think that is Uh-oh. Okay. I think that may be good. Is that good? I think that's good. All right. So now where are we? 12 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Noel and Thomas failed to complete any of the required 30-minute rounds in the shoe, authorities say. Noel completes and signs more than 75 separate 30-minute round entries, falsely saying they conducted the rounds. Noel and Thomas, seated at the officer's desk area, use the computers and move around the shoe area, a common area. For about 2 hours, Noel and Thomas sit at their desks without moving and appear to be asleep, the indictment says. Noel uses the computer periodically, including a search to search the internet for furniture sale and benefit websites. Thomas uses the computer briefly at 1 a.m., 4 a.m., and 6 a.m. to search motorcycle sales and sports news, according to the indictment. August 10th at 3 a.m., Noel and Thomas do not make the required 3 a.m. count. Internal video shows they complete and sign a count slip, falsely saying they did, and at 3:24 a.m., based on the falsified count slip, the control center clears the 3 a.m. count. At 4 a.m., the overnight supervisor visits Noel and Thomas in the shoe and confers with them before leaving. At 5 a.m., Noel and Thomas do not make the required 5 a.m. count. Internal video shows they completed and they signed the slips once again, falsifying them. And guess what? At 5:30, the control center clears them. They clear the count. At 5:30 a.m., another correctional officer briefly walks through the shoe common area. Video surveillance shows no one entered the shoe, no one conducted any counts or rounds throughout the night, and no one entered the tier where Epstein was housed. Shortly after 6 a.m., Noel and Thomas receive a delivery of breakfast carts into the shoe. At 6:30 a.m., Noel and Thomas walk up to and enter the tier in which Epstein was housed to serve breakfast. At 6:33, an alarm is activated in the shoe. Epstein is alone in his cell and not responsive, with a noose around the thing that holds his head up. An unnamed Supervisor 1, who had just started his shift, responded to the alarm almost immediately. Noel approaches the door to the shoe to open it for Supervisor 1 and says Epstein self-deleted. The indictment says. Afterwards, Noel tells Supervisor 1, we did not complete the 3 a.m. nor the 5 a.m. rounds, Thomas says. We messed up and I messed up. She's not to blame. We didn't do any rounds, according to the indictment. On August 10th in the morning, Epstein is taken to the hospital where he is pronounced deleted as of apparent self-deletion, according to the Bureau of Prisons, you guys. So, how did we get here? How did we get to Epstein and the deletion and all of that? Well, because all of this stuff is the stuff that is going on, that is the makings of conspiracy theories as of the moment, because no one is letting us know what was going on or giving us a full flight log of who was flying in and out of Epstein's Island, when they were flying in and out of Epstein's Island, or any of that. And these are the things that were promised to the American people. Some things are supposed to be made public. We're supposed to be able, under the Freedom of Information Act, we're supposed to be able to get information on cases and things of that nature. Classified documents were promised to be unclassified that have not been here. And for the longest time, there have been conspiracy theories indicating that Jeffrey Epstein did not self-delete and was actually deleted on his own. However, in the DOJ OIG report, it also indicates a couple of things in there. It says that Jeffrey Epstein made a phone call. Matter of fact, let me pull it back up for you guys, because it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing because they say that Jeffrey Epstein updated his will, and that he also, let me pull it up for you guys. Let me get this back up here for y'all. And let me do this only because people like to take and not give credit where they get stuff from. So unfortunately, we have to do this. Okay, so let's get into this and let's get to some important dates. So on July 30th of 2019, all right, it says that Epstein was transferred back to the SHU after, an attempted self-deleting. Now, again, I'm going to be reading this whole DOJ report to y'all in a podcast. If you are a member, you will get the video. I will be releasing the audio to the public. Members will get the video, and then the video will be added to the public 24 to 48 hours after the audio. So if you want to see the video and you want to have access to the video first, make sure that you guys are members. And yes, you can become a Henny sipper and be a member that way. Okay. Now, I highlighted this portion because it says an MCC New York staff psychologist from the psychology department sends an email to over 70 BOP staff members stating that Epstein needs to be housed with an appropriate cellmate. Epstein and his new cellmate, inmate 3, are placed in a cell within the SHU that can accommodate the electrical needs of Epstein's medical device. Okay. Then it says MCC New York conducts a disciplinary proceeding against Epstein for alleged self-deletion and ultimately concludes that there is insufficient evidence that finds that Epstein engaged in a prohibited act, which I do not understand how he did not. But it says when Epstein is psychologically evaluated in connection with the disciplinary proceedings, he says he does not remember how he sustained the marks around his neck. Didn't y'all just have him on self-deletion watch for 24 hours? Child. MCC New York personnel attempt to obtain an estimate from Company 1 to run the wiring and conduit for the new camera system, which would eliminate the need for BOP technicians to perform the work. So they're having issues with the cameras, but these are new cameras. Again, we're hearing new camera system, not the camera system from 1999. Okay. The next thing that I highlighted is on August 8th of 2019, where it says that Epstein meets with his attorney and unbeknownst, okay, wait, let's go back. Epstein is seen in psychology department and denies self-deletion, ideology, intention, or plans. Then it says Epstein met with his attorneys and unbeknownst to MCC New York personnel, changes his last will and testament during the meeting. So on August 8th, the day before, or 2 days before, because he's found unalived on the 10th, if I'm not mistaken, and he is changing his last will and testament. And I guess the attorney had no idea that he had tried to self-terminate and didn't find this suspicious at all, right? Anyway, MCC New York staff received notice that Epstein's cellmate will be transferred out of the institution the following day on August 9th. So on August 8th, they know that the inmate is leaving. So now to get out of the conspiracy bag, if you're in a cell with somebody, cellmates usually talk. So I'm quite sure the inmate told him, hey, I'm going to be out of here tomorrow. So could it be possible that with him knowing that information, he changed his will because he planned to self-delete? I don't know. I'm just asking a question. Y'all let me know in the comments. All right. MCC New York discovered the disk failures that occurred in the DVR2 system on July 29th, and that resulted in approximately 1/2 of the institution security cameras not recording. Although the cameras continued to broadcast a live video feed, MCC New York staff do not perform the work necessary to restore recording functionality of the DVR2 system or address long-standing performance failures with the institution's camera system. So there is an issue going on with the cameras and they don't have it fixed. Child. Now let's get on down here to August 9th. Okay. At approximately 8:30 a.m., Epstein's cellmate, inmate 3, is transferred out of MCC New York to MCC New York SHU. Two MCC New York SHU staff members said they notified supervisory staff of Epstein's cellmates transfer and Epstein's need for a new cellmate. Other witnesses did not corroborate these statements. Epstein is not assigned a new cellmate as required by the psychology department. All right. Now, sometime between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., Epstein meets with his attorneys in the Shoes attorney conference area sometime prior to 1 p.m. Epstein's attorney asked MCC New York staff members if Epstein could be moved to a different housing unit or housed without a cellmate. MCC New York staff obtained the replacement hard drives to repair the institution's security camera system, but do not complete the repairs necessary to restore recording functionality and address long-standing performance failures with the institution's DVR2 system. So they know the cameras aren't working. They have the parts to get the cameras working, and they do not get the cameras working. Okay. Now, we're going to go on down here at approximately 7 p.m., contrary to BOP policy, but with the permission of a unit manager. Epstein is permitted to place an unmonitored telephone call to a number within New York City area code, purportedly to speak with his mother. In actuality, Epstein speaks with someone with whom he allegedly has a personal relationship. After the call, Epstein is returned to his cell, where he remains without a cellmate. And we know the rest, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Again, I will be reading this 129 page, well, probably not 129 pages with all of the stuff that is going on. Okay. Let's go here. A view of Epstein's empty cell from the cell door. All right. This is his door. This is not the door that we saw. This is the L-tier entry door, and that's where Epstein was. And yeah, no, we didn't see. This is the unit where he was. This is not what was on the camera footage that was shown to us. Okay. But I'm going to read all of this documentation to you guys, and I can't wait to get it out to y'all. But yeah. So again, we're going to deep dive into that. But first, there is something else that I would like to bring to y'all. Now, Jeffrey Epstein's brother sat down with Mark Epstein, which is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, sat down with Cuomo on News Nation. And I'm going to bring that to you guys right now. Let me get this off the screen. And then let me bring this up so we can all get into the hot henny. Now, it says that he laughed at the reports that his brother unalived himself, y'all. All right. And for all intensive purposes, this video is being used for criticism, critique, reporting, and of course, my commentary and review. I am using this content underneath the guise of the Fair Use Act.
The problem with playing with conspiracies is that at some point, you're either going to have to put up or shut up. And now that the Trump administration, even though Bongino and Patel and others really trafficked in the Epstein files, right? And the assumption was that something was done to him, and it's because of the lists, what he had around him. And then the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, claimed months ago that they were going to release tens of thousands of incriminating documents.
That's a fact. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the list, and we're talking about the self-deletion here.
Remember, she said, they're right here on my desk.
Right.
And then it never came.
Never.
And then this past Sunday, right? And that's an intentional day, right? We don't want you really to pay attention.
Right.
Trump's DOJ and FBI released a memo saying, no client list.
Right.
No evidence that could
Right.
predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties.
No evidence.
And he killed himself.
Right.
Period.
Well,
this is exactly what so many in MAGA did not expect to hear nor want to hear. So let's discuss on the political and the personal side. We got Liz Wheeler conservative commentator, host of the Liz Wheeler show, absolutely invested in this and expected a different outcome. And joining by phone, that's the only way he does it. I've spoken to him before because he's afraid that people are going to come after him because he's Epstein's brother. Mark, who does not buy the DOJ's findings that his brother committed suicide. Liz, it's good to see you. Mark, thank you for being on the phone. Liz, Bondi says they're on my desk. Now she doesn't really seem to have a good answer. Did she mean the client list was on her desk, or was that just something figurative? How do you explain this?
Well, Pam Bondi, Attorney General, said today herself that that's not what she meant when she said the words, the client list is on my desk. But
You can't say that the client list wasn't on your desk, bro. We heard you. We heard you. We heard you. But I want to fast
you heard
forward
the words as well
just a little bit. Yeah.
as I did. She said the client list is on my desk, and that wasn't true. So it's a little hard to square what she said then with what she's saying now. That's the biggest problem with this whole story, Chris, is that people voted for President Trump because they wanted justice. We want justice. There was a lot of wrongdoing that was inflicted on the American people under the previous administration, both by Biden staffers and by deep state government bureaucratic employees. From Russiagate to the impeachments to parents being called terrorists because they didn't want critical race theory or trans ideology being taught to their children, to January 6th, to there's all kinds of different ways that MAGA, you can call President Trump supporters, anybody who dissented from Biden, were abused by the Biden administration.
Okay, we're not getting into all of that. We want to hear about what the brother had to say.
That he was most likely murdered.
They voted for justice. They voted for
been connected to it. There's never been a suggestion. It's not about that. But Mark, you do not believe what the administration, the Trump administration, is putting out about your brother now. Why?
Well, every time they say something or do something to try to quash the fact that he was most likely murdered, they just put their foot further down their mouth. I mean, for instance, Kash Patel in the congressional hearing, he listed his credentials as a prosecutor and other such things, and he said that it was a suicide. He said, "You know a suicide when you see it." That's basically what he said. So the questions that popped into my mind was, first of all, number one, how many suicides has he seen? Number one. Two, is he a forensic pathologist? Does he have a medical degree? Does he have a certificate that he passed a CPR course? Does he have a Boy Scout merit badge for first aid? What is he basing his expertise on? Contrast that to Dr. Roman, who was a city pathologist who did the autopsy. She came out of the autopsy and said she couldn't call it a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide.
That's the report I want to see. I don't know about y'all, but I want to see that report. What did the coroner have to say about this? Because if that be true, that the coroner said that, oh baby, it ain't a conspiracy or a theory. It's actually something that has been medically confirmed. But let's continue.
Dr. Michael Barden, who was there on my behalf, who witnessed the autopsy, also concurred that it looked more like a homicide than a suicide. Now,
so now we have a medical coroner and a witness. I want to see these reports. Henny Legal, I want those reports. See if we can get them, please, so we can give them to the people.
Was Kash Patel in the autopsy room? No. Was Kash Patel in the prison when they found Jeffrey? No, I don't think so. And if he was there, that raises even a bigger question. So every time they say something, I mean, when Kash Patel came out with that statement, I laughed at how stupid it was. And then they just released this video. This you're going to like. After the death, a few days after the death, Bill Barr, the Attorney General, said he saw that video and he saw that nobody went in or out of the tier. And that convinced him it was a suicide. And I heard that and I realized how stupid that was, because no one could get to that door, go in, kill somebody, leave completely undetected. So that's like an asinine concept. So if Jeff was killed, he was either killed by somebody on the tier or when they locked up the tier. So that's one part of it. Now, I asked to get the footage from that same camera on the Freedom of Information Act from 10 o'clock the night before until noon the following morning. That would show who locked up the tier, who were the last people on that tier. And in the morning, it would show, Michael Thomas going in the guard and finding the body, and it would show what the situation was when they removed the body from the tier. I was initially told
he's cooking. He's cooking right now. Because the footage that we've seen is not the footage of the tier. But what we're reading in the DOJ report is that they knew that the cameras for DVR2 were down. And not only were they down for that tier, they were down for majority. That was the main camera system for the prison. And that even after they got the parts that nobody bothered to go put the parts in so that it worked. And it just so conveniently happens that he has no cellmates. And it was ordered that he have a cellmate because there was an alleged attempted self-deleting prior to. And an investigation yielded that he hadn't violated any prison policies. I guess it's okay to delete yourself in the prisons.
Because it was still open investigation. Okay, I understand that. But then when the investigation was over, I asked for that footage again. Okay, and I was now told that the cameras that were operating don't show that area.
That's right.
I have this in writing from the Bureau of Prisons. That the cameras that were operating
I
don't
remember.
show that. And I was very specific about the footage. And it's the same footage that Bill Barr.
No, Mark, listen, I get it.
That picture, that still of the video that I showed y'all where it jumps and it looks like it was pieced together because one screen is one width and the other screen is the other width, and that little box is up there for a long period of time, about 20 to 30 minutes. And then it disappears after midnight. And the video is still going at 6:30. It stops at 6:40. We don't see no rushing of anything. It doesn't seem like there's bells and whistles going off. I don't know if there's a little thing that happens, but we don't see anything that indicates that there's rushing around movement because somebody is unalived in there. And the brother is cooking right now.
I get it. And the transparency wasn't there. And then they said that there was a malfunction. Then they said they weren't coordinated. And look, I get why you guys are upset about what's happening here. But I can tell you this, it's not over. And it's not about what I think or don't think about the situation. That's not relevant. The process isn't over. Liz, thank you. We'll be in touch whenever you want. You know how to get me. Take care. We'll keep talking. Mark Epstein, we're always a call away. All right?
So what we're hearing is that the family, and this is a brother who allegedly is not close to Epstein, but he's not buying that he's self-deleted. Now, there is a lot that's going on. And like I said, I'm going to read the DOJ report to you guys and get that out to y'all as soon as possible. I also have the transcript readings that are coming out within the next couple of days. That's what I'll be working on. And you guys will be getting videos like this about topics that I'm going to be talking about. I will do morning lives, but they will be very short. But we are going to continue to follow this story because I want to know, was he unalived? Okay. And it's not a matter of, oh, Henny, you're what? Are you an Epstein supporter? I am absolutely not an Epstein supporter. Okay. Anybody that does heinous act against women, children, and the elderly, they deserve what they get. That's how I feel about things, especially when it's proven. Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting up incarcerated in Click City right now as we speak for being an associate and an accomplice to the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed. Okay. What it is if there is someone out here deleting people before justice can be served, we, the people, deserve to know that. Okay. We already know that there are a lot of big names that are on that fight list. Okay. That little bit of list that I have names politicians that were previously in office or running for office or held some type of political chair. It also held some celebrities on there. And it says whether or not they were on the flight log or in the contact list. What I want to know is, why are these celebrities and people on there if they are not on the flight list or in the contact book? Were they attendees to parties on Jeffrey Epstein's island? I feel like personally it is time to expose all of the sickness that is going on in this world. And because of statements like that, this is why my channel continues to stay in trouble. So I will be putting out a hootie hoo on where y'all can find me next. That's going to be the next thing that I'm working on within the next 60 days. I will be working on that. Until then, we will continue to push the envelope and the line here on this channel, That Girl Henny Reviews. Yes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you believe, after hearing all that you have heard and seeing all that you have seen, that Epstein deleted himself? Are you really buying that there is no client log? Because I'm inclined to believe that the flight log is the client log along with Jeffrey Epstein's little black book, which, by the way, I may have some information on. So stay tuned, because this is only the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And be sure that you check out my other videos, as I'll be continuing to introduce the Alexander brothers into the timeline and keep up with what is going on with Diddy. This has been your favorite doc tender, That Girl Henny, and I will see y'all in the next video. Everybody, please be sure to like the video and share it to somebody who you think may be interested in hearing what's going on with this topic. Till the next time, everybody.